Sanae Takaichi had a massive victory. I don't think the foreign media kind of explains very well how big or how historic this is. So I thought I would do this in this live stream in English so you guys get an idea. Just to explain once again, the upper house is like the Senate in the United States, and the lower house is like the House of Representatives. The prime minister has the power to dissolve the lower house and call a snap election when it can help do what exactly she did. The UK has this very similar system. If she had lost, it's a risk she would have lost the power, most likely lost the prime ministership, and somebody else would be in power or another party. But she didn't. She played the cards really well. And I want to explain to you why in English. But I want to, more than that, I want to explain to you why this is so freaking historic. This is one of the biggest wins in the history of Japanese politics. And I don't think it's getting enough news on that. So let me just show you here, give you an idea. First, this is before the snap election. The green is the Jiminto and the orange is the Ishin party, the JIP party. They formed a coalition and they had enough to get stuff done over the other parties. The red, I believe, is the Komeito, and the other color, and the hold on a second, and the gray down at the bottom is the Sanseito party. After the election, watch this. It's like all green. That's her party, the Jiminto. It was such a powerful election. The Komeito, do they even exist anymore? I think they joined up with the other opposing party to form a new party. That's how impressive a victory this is. The Sanseito party, which is in the gray at the bottom, it's very much not much of a player here. These are new parties that are just kind of gaining traction, maybe in a couple of years or in a generation, but it's certainly the start of something. That orange one, and this is really significant, that orange one is the JIP, the Ishin Party, the Japan Innovation Party. That party is also allied out with the green. So that's over 2/3 of the lower house is now in Takaichi's control as prime minister with her allies. That's an incredible landslide victory. To go, I can put them next to each other. It's incredible to see what it was like one day, and then the next day you wake up to this. All right, when you see it like this next to it, just a demolition of the opposing parties. What she did, was a stroke of genius to call the snap election right now, and it turned out this way, which is extraordinary. When you put it side to side, you could see the Ishin party picked up some seats, but you see the other parties just completely gone. That's crazy. I could break it down for you here. Let's take a look. I think we have it here. Here it is before. So you guys can take a look. The LDP, I think it's really good to see this here. The LDP, Liberal Jiminto, had 196 seats before the election. Komeito, which was a non-coalition partner, it became their opposition. 24 seats, not a lot, but they needed them at the time. The CDP, which is the Constitutional Democratic Party, had 148, which is extraordinarily strong. The opposition party. Together with Komeito, they had a very strong opposition. But the Ishin Party, with 34 seats, actually became the coalition partner with the LDP, giving them 220 some seats there, 21 seats or so. And that gave them a majority, just razor thin, similar to what the House of Representatives has right now in the United States, House of Representatives, with the Republicans and the Democrats. And the other, some of them were with the LDP, some of them were not. They were oppositions. Some of them had fringe issues, and some of them are up-and-coming parties. I wouldn't sleep on them either, but 63 seats, which is a lot for other parties. So that was before this election. Now, February 8th starts, and here are the results of that. After the snap election, LDP gets 316 seats. Put this over here to the side. LDP 316. I'm over it. That's incredible. That is a landslide. Komeito Party 0. It's no longer a coalition, wiped out. Uh, the CDP. I'm not happy about any of this. I'm extraordinarily interested in the politics behind it. The CDP and the Komeito merged. The remaining of that, 100, they had a massive opposition. Only 49 exist now. Only 49. Just look back at it again, right? The CDP and the Komeito had about 170 seats, over 170. And then they're together only 49. They lost a significant amount of seats in there. The Ishin party picked up, I think it was 12 seats, and then the other parties, they in total, they all stayed the same. This is a landslide, all right? It's not even close. And Takaichi Sanae mania is very much real. The media is giving her a lot of that, but not too much, which is healthy, which is actually really good, but just enough. And that's a really good sign. If the media was on board and going, woohoo, then I would be really worried, because then probably the wheels are going to fall off the bus. But they're very, just the right amount of satisfaction with this, because it's also keeping her in check. And that means that this has the makings of being an extraordinarily successful tenure for a prime minister, possibly passing the late Prime Minister Abe, who was the longest serving prime minister of Japan. One of the reasons why Sanae Takaichi, who is the first female prime minister of Japan, one of the reasons she's so popular is because she doesn't lean on that. She doesn't lean on identity. Women voters don't vote on her because of her identity. Some of them might, but they vote on her because she's competent. This avoids a backlash, and she didn't really massively shift any gender voting here. She neutralized it. It wasn't a big deal at all. Nobody sees Takaichi-san as she's there because she's a woman. And I think the foreign media kind of hypes that up a little bit more than the Japanese media does. Nobody really, she's the first female prime minister, but nobody really sees. She's also the most competent person for the job, which is great. And I think that is a big, big sign of the possibility of great success going forward. There's no arrogance here, right? She just had a landslide victory, no arrogance. She's just all work. And it's an extraordinarily good sign, and it gives people a lot of hope. I don't know if you, outside of Japan, probably not, you don't get it as much, but if you're watching the TV here and you're talking with the people, there's a lot more hope now that things are going to get done, right? That things can get better. And the thing with this is, right, she was a strong leader, but strong leadership can turn to arrogance, which can be a problem in Japan. And that is something that I think everyone has their eyes on right now. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that comparison is fair either. You can't compare Japanese leaders with Western leaders. You just can't. You can call her the Iron Lady. You can call her, like Japan's MAGA or Trump. I don't see that at all. She is Takaichi-san. She's got her own identity. She's got her own way to lead. It's somewhat similar to Abe-san, but she hasn't been in the job long enough to really understand. But what makes her extraordinarily strong and what makes people really like her is that she's been here before, right? She's waited a long time for this. She's lost before, so she's got that humility. She's been sidelined, which is one reason why she escaped some of the scandals that were happening within the LDP party, because she was sidelined. They pushed her to the side. She's been underestimated all of her life, and I think a lot of Japanese people can understand that sentiment. She's pretty cool. These are reasons why she resonates so well with a lot of people. So these three things usually generate two types of people: bitter strivers, that's not her, or calm operators. And I think we got the latter. So everybody who, I don't think this is so much of a right wing or a left wing type of stuff. I think it's just we have a really strong leader. We have a calm leader. We have a collected leader. We have a leader who wants to get stuff done, leader who wants to improve business and help the cost of living for the people that are here in Japan, which is, I think, a lot of people feel it. And the one thing that the Western, seriously, I cannot believe it. The one thing that I think some of the Westerners won't understand, including me, because I didn't really, the rhetoric in Japan at the election time is almost always just rhetoric. It you like never really comes to bear fruit. And this is the same in all elections. People just don't keep the promises, or they speak a lot louder or tougher, or they take a stronger stance to win certain demographics. They're politicians. But when it comes down to actually leading, and when the election dust settles, then the strong leader gets into just getting stuff up and grinding it out. Bottom line, in Japan, boring is good. Boring is good. All right. And if things get boring, that means things are going well, typically. You don't want any kind of risk, alleviating risk. And this is why Takaichi won. Over the last, I don't know, what is it, about a year now? She has been consolidating the role of being a leader. She's gotten the support of the United States, no matter who the leader is. She's gotten the support of the United States, which is huge. You wanted the support of the country which is your biggest trading partner. This is without question. You want people to see you as a strong leader. She's been able to do that. She's had a very high popular polling, and we're about to go into what could be a very turbulent time. This seemed to be the most common sense thing to do, to call the snap elections, but I got to be honest, it was risky. Boring is good. Things going well, but things aren't going well at all, John. Simon writes in there, you're absolutely right. And this is, Simon, that's a great comment, and this is why she won. Who could do a better job? The opposition had no answer. Zero answer. Crickets. Nobody had an answer, Simon. Nobody had an answer. So the best answer is to give her and she owns it now. Yeah, if nice guy like John, who is not into politics, believes in someone, she must be good. I think she's really good. I really, we hope this. I love the comments. This is a live stream, guys, so we got the comments coming in here. But I'm very optimistic, like the majority of the Japanese are too right now. And you don't have to agree or disagree, but now she has 2/3 of the lower house, and she has a mandate to get stuff done, and things are going to get done now. And also, when people are talking about China, we don't know who's actually making the statements. China says, China says, China says. I have not heard the leader of China say anything publicly, so we don't really know anything until the leader makes an actual statement. But I wouldn't take anything that is quoted like this in the media meaning much of anything at all. It's just to stir up stuff between two East Asian countries, which has been going on for generations. I hope all the people of Japan have more improved lives with the new prime minister in charge. Walters, thank you, and 1000%. I think that's what people feel, a sense of hopefulness with her in charge, but there's no more excuse. And I want to go over some of the things here. So I wanted to start off talking about how historic this win was here, right? There's some clear takeaways we have. I want to get into that in a second. But this was a massively historic one. In the history of Japan, let's just go over here. The most historic election was the LDP, the Jiminto, locking in the one-party state for which was like generations. One party has ruled Japan pretty much for the majority of the post-World War II until about 2009, when another party came into power and started to really push this party out. It took over 50 years, 60 years to get that change to happen. About 50 years. The system crystallizes opposition sidelined for more than a generation, really. That was the number one election in Japan. And then number two, what do you guys think it is? Koizumi's postal landslide. A single issue blows up the old factions and what redraws the party lines. And number three was February 8th, 2026, Takaichi's consolidation sweep. This was the third biggest, and maybe even very close to the second biggest a landslide victory in the history of Japan's post World War II election cycle. Isn't that crazy? And probably bigger than the 2012 Abe returns amid opposition collapse, which was the opposition really was in a tough spot following the Great Tohoku earthquake and tsunami and all the reconstruction, a lot of the problems that came from that. Any leader would be in a lot of trouble. But if you look at that, that's how historic it was. I don't think the foreign media really lets you know because they don't really get into the depths of Japanese politics. But now I think it's really important to understand what can derail her. What can derail her? There's kind of a list here. Um, Yen volatility. Right now, the yen is it's very weak right now. It's almost too weak. It is too weak. It's around what 156 to the dollar. It's been like this for a long time. That's got to come down. Maybe 130 seems to be a sweet spot. The energy price spikes. Oil could go up. Other things can go up that can cause inflation to keep going up because Japan inflations, we're feeling it for the first time in decades. A China slowdown. Yeah, if Chinese economy slows down, that hurts Japan too. We can't see China stop the growth either. So there's a Chinese right now an issue between the two countries with travel and other things, and I'll talk a little bit about that if you want. But also a U.S. recession ripple could also cause things. So there's a balance. Japan, you've been seeing with the economic issues with that could cause a recession ripple in the United States, and that can doing too much or selling back treasuries too much could also cause a harm in the Japanese economy too. So there's a very fine balance that needs to be taken with all these issues. But she now doesn't have all of these people on her back to try to get stuff done. She can just do it and has the vision, and this will be the vision to do it. And this will be a very interesting several months. And the first crisis that comes along and how she deals with it will be extraordinarily fascinating to watch. And we're all going to be really concerned. But seeing the election and the people and the feeling and this Sanae mania, I think that there's a lot of positivity behind her, and that usually is a very good thing. However, if there's too much, that's not a bad thing. So you do need a little bit of pressure and pushback in order to become a great prime minister. And Abe certainly had a lot of pushback. This is the Koizumi and Abe trap. I like this one here. She has a strong mandate to lead, but if she moves too fast, or she stacks controversial reforms too much, or bundles unpopular measures together, opponents don't fight the policy anymore. They fight the timing and the tone, and this becomes the story. And then you can start to lose momentum. And this is probably what happened with Koizumi and Prime Minister Abe over the course of their long prime ministerships. And we can learn from the past. And I think she has a different temperament. We don't know what she's like really behind the scenes, although we sort of do when we watch her playing the drums. But, we are all hoping for great success. I'm not a huge fan of the Jiminto party, to be honest with you. After the scandals, like everybody else, I've seen them. It's corrupt as hell. But again, she was sidelined most of that time or all of that time. Basically, she was like an outsider within the party, which is why people feel really comfortable with her in this position. That's why she got it in the first place. She wanted it. She's been working hard for it. She has the experience to do it. And she's doing, people say, a pretty good job up following the Prime Minister Ishiba stepping down. Jared's here. Hopefully she will make Japan great. Time will prevail. The truth, agree or disagree, you hope they do their best for everyone and the U.S. A strong Japan and a healthy Japan is a strong U.S. and a healthy U.S., especially since they are countries that are the biggest trading partners to one another. The same with China. The same goes for China too, and I hope we can find a harmony with China despite what seems like a very turbulent time. There's a lot of opportunity to get that done. And this mandate, I got to be honest with you, a strong leader for Japan, it's counter. It seems to some people counterintuitive, but a strong leader for Japan actually can diffuse a lot more issues than a weak one, which can start to divide things within Japan itself, which is dangerous. If Japan is united within, inside, that's a lot better. But right now, we're not going to have opposition parties coming after her. I don't think she's got a little bit of time, which is really good. Really good. Some imports are important, for example, fuel, but Japan is, this comes from Gamba, but Japan is always endeavoring to reduce imports, for example, nuclear power. And yeah, well, Japan is a country that imports pretty much everything. It's an island nation that doesn't have a ton of resources. It's got rocks and minerals and shikoku. It's got some things that it can use, but a lot of that is used internally for its own manufacturing that is now left. A lot of it has moved, only the super high tech manufacturing remains in Japan. A lot of it has moved over to China, but um, all the stuff that Japan produces is used mostly domestically, except the matcha, because I guess you can get, there's a percentage of the matcha which has to stay, the green tea that's turned into powder. The percentage of it, high grade matcha, has to stay within Japan by law, I believe. And the rest of it's being sold abroad at ridiculous prices, so much so that China and other countries are making matcha, some of it fake Kyoto or Uji matcha. So you have to be careful what you get imported. You could be paying a premium for something that's not actually Kyoto Uji matcha, right? It'll be coming from the fields of, I don't know, Chengdu or something, which is a beautiful place in China, by the way. But it wouldn't be Uji matcha. It would be Chengdu matcha, which is probably pretty good too. I don't know. Haven't tried it. But the market for it is extraordinary. The Japanese economy, though, if this consolidates, we've seen, let me see here. Is the yen getting stronger or weaker? Taking a look at it, it's getting stronger. It just since the election, it was at 157.24. And now it's at 137.58. So it's dropped almost 4 yen, which is about 1%. What is that? No, but like 2 or 2% or 2.5% or something like that. It's pretty significant. A 4 yen drop after the election, and it's still going down. It's a curve going down. But the trend over the last year is still going up. But the volatility over the last month is concerning. So if it congeals around 130, that's actually quite a good thing. But I would say it's not going to stay above 150 if the economy can get some momentum and there's some positivity behind the leadership of Takaichi. And that's what makes this election so historic. It really is. I don't think I watched the international news coverage and I said, you guys just don't even get how massive this is. Right? The Koizumi landslide of 2005, when I was here in Japan, was about the postal privatization election. They were public and they made it private, and everybody wanted this, and it happened, and the post office is doing okay. Huge public enthusiasm for this, and it was a heavy issue specific and personality driven because he had such a, they called him the lion because he looked like a lion. Such a personality driven election. That's not what this was. This was purely a competency election. Abe's early victories were big seat counts, opposition collapse. They just collapsed. And the LDP was just strong, had a bigger bench. They still relied more on opposition weakness than outright sweep, right? And this election was, who's the greater risk? We don't agree with this is the Japanese people. We don't agree with the LDP. We don't want the LDP to come back. But we think the other parties are more of a risk. We don't know if our wages are going to get higher with Takaichi-san, but we know with the other parties, there's more of a risk that it won't or it might not with her than without her than if we keep her. And if we keep Takaichi-san, there's a higher chance or less risk in our minds after the election and hearing everything that our lives will get better with Takaichi-san than with those other parties. And therefore, you saw like this happen, right? You saw like that. Hold on, let me get it here. You saw on the right to the left, you see the green dots go, and you saw one party get completely obliterated. That just from risk. Who's riskier? Who do you love? We love Takaichi. So right now, She owns it. Yeah, all hail Takaichi-san. And I'm I mean that well that's she's not a queen or anything like that, but I think that this is an extraordinary position, and the humility that she's shown is also a very telling sign. She should have some confidence, but she should also try to work with everybody and try to get consensus, because that's what Japanese typically do. Try to alleviate risk. She's going to try to want to be as in a prime ministership as long as possible. She's going to want to keep things boring. She's going to want to make sure that the prices start to come down on certain things, or at least find a way to alleviate the heaviness on part of the middle class, or as much of it as possible. She says she's going to do stimulus checks, stimulating the economy, giving people money. I'm not in agreement of that. Some people wanted to bring down the consumption tax, but then you'd have to eliminate programs. So there's a lot of talk about how do you help the middle class with the high price increases going on everything in the supermarket, everything in daily life. And she's going to have to find some solutions and work together to try to do it, or just give some tough love, or tell the senior citizens to start spending some money. Come on, get the economy going. I always said, at least this is what I heard 15 years ago, if 1% of the senior citizens started to use their savings and buy anything that was made in Japan, the economy would just start to balloon. But one thing I think that we're looking, especially the JIP, the Ishin Party is, and that's more out of Osaka, is if Japan can become a bigger place for entrepreneurship, if Japan can become a place where younger people can start businesses, and a lot of them still prefer to go into large corporations. If they can come out and start businesses, start incubator businesses that can grow into something big like the United States does with social media and other things, then we're going to start to see some great things from Japan. But the speed at which large corporations in Japan move cannot keep up with the incubator culture of the United States and China, for that matter. And there's going to have to be a pace change within Japan. And I think with Takaichi-san being much younger, she's got so much more energy than Prime Minister Ishiba. Don't get me wrong, I really liked Prime Minister Ishiba, but I was always concerned when I saw him falling asleep, like at the Nagasaki ceremony, because it is quite hot out there. I don't blame him with all the other work that he has, but it also shows a lack of energy. Takaichi-san does not lack energy, and that's what I think we're banking on here in Japan and cheering for her. You don't have to be Jiminto, and I'm not, to be cheering for her, but she was sidelined during all of those scandals. At least we believe so here in Japan, and we're looking forward to her and the success. And if you do come to Japan now, you're going to kind of feel that a little bit of more positivity now than you did a week ago. And what had happened it was bad for the opposition parties, but it was good for Japan ultimately, at least for now. And time will tell. And she owns this now. And if she fails, the next election will be very telling, which happens in a certain amount of years. The upper house elections, I believe, are every 3 years, and that might be the ones that take place before we have another lower house election. But the yen will go up crazily after her win. Why? Because there's more confidence in Japan now. Because there's now a strong leader, and we haven't had that in a very long time. We had Abe-san. Well, I shouldn't say that. We haven't had that since Abe-san. But this is a chance for the Jiminto to clean up their party, to change leadership, to kind of push out the. See, I have a tree with some yellow leaves right there. Do you see right there? We can clean that out, get some new growth in there, and grow a party that could be stronger. And I never sleep on the Jiminto. I probably would be more aligned with them because they're the least risky one. But the way Japan looks at this, it's not which party can give me the biggest reward. It's not that. It's which party can give us the least amount of risk. And that's what I love about Japan. It's always kind of like the opposite of the Western thinking. But Japan is which country can give us the least, which leader has the least risk, not the most upside, but the least risk. Because we'd rather keep the status quo than to make things worse. And things had been getting worse. And now there's at least some optimism. Does it get better? We're going to see. That's pretty exciting. Oh, I'll take one question here. Does anybody have anything going on here? Simon had a valid point. Am I the only one who thinks that if the consumption tax will be scrapped temporarily, the corporations' businesses will just use the occasion to ramp up prices and level off after the tax? Simon, I don't think that would happen so much. I think that that's a really good Good point. I don't think that that would happen too much because the one thing about reputation in Japan is that corporations, although they are greedy and they do cut corners, they're also extraordinarily mindful of their reputation. And companies like Uniqlo, you're seeing this, they're actually raising the prices because they're doing a lot more business abroad. They're raising the prices, wages of the people here in Japan. But if you have a black company, which is a bad company, then your reputation is damaged. You really can't do any business in Japan. There is a big cultural gap between doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing and how it's perceived within the cultures. I've seen this time and time again. The most interesting thing is to see when a company does something bad, the CEO or the president of it going in front of the cameras and shaming themselves. A lot of people think, oh, he should be going to jail and get arrested. This is worse than getting arrested and going to jail in Japanese society. You're shamed. You're basically gone. All right, you're wiped out, erased. You lose more money through the hurt of your reputation, which took, you know, ages to build and can be lost in a snap. And a lot of companies don't maybe pay the price as much, but again, the rewards and the risks and the penalties is just different because the perception in Japanese culture is different. And this is the whole thing with immigration. And if we bring in so many more people, does this perception, that this way that the society work also change? It's just something that people are concerned about here in Japan, and it's something we're talking about in the future. But thanks for asking about that, and I'm with you. Like I really don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to go. But we expect our prime ministers to work hard, to work. We expect people to work hard in Japan. Japanese have the most competent workers, but there also needs to be time for people to have family time. And I think that there's a balance with everything. And I know that you guys are watching very closely, but don't put Western values and what you think works in the West on Japan, because what we see in Japan of the West ain't working so good. Your system ain't working so good. So I think that the way that Japanese society is with the level of crime and how tourists come here and say how clean it is, how great Japan works, and then Westerners come in here and say, boy, we have a great system. Our system works better, but your country is better, but you should do stuff more Western way. Really? So I'm just saying that as a Westerner, maybe the way that Japan is doing stuff for generations isn't such the bad way, and you don't have to agree with it, but you can't make Japan Western and say that that's the better way. It just isn't. And the longer I live here, the more I listen to people and the more I just keep my mouth shut, because you can't argue with idiots, but people learn after they stay here for a while. And, you know, you go with the flow or you get hammered down, isn't it? The nail that sticks up gets hammered down. And I'm not the nail that sticks up, but I'm the nail that might be somewhat sideways, because I can see both sides of it. However, you can't change Japan. As much as you think that the West might be better with some things, Japan is, with safety and the way society is, it's an extraordinary place, which is why a lot of people want to come and move here. Takaichi-san is not stopping the immigration, so Japan is going to be less. I think she's making it smarter. No one's going to stop immigration. And Japan doesn't have an illegal immigration problem. They don't have an immigration problem either. But they've had smart immigration. So bringing in people that can assimilate into Japanese culture. The workers from South Asia that come here, that work at 7-Eleven and work at the hotels, they learn Japanese before they come here, because how could you not to live in Japanese culture? So it's extraordinary to see how much these people can assimilate into Japanese culture. They're also taking a lot of people that are not learning Japanese. I don't know how. Sometimes they just get married to foreigners. There's a lot of, over the years, I've talked to the touts in Roppongi and without a camera. A lot of them get married to Japanese wives. A lot of them are employed by crime, and a lot of them get married to Japanese wives so that they can stay here and do crime or to help syndicates. And they stay that because they're married on paper to wives. But those things can sometimes be broken up, and then they end up going back to their original country or arrested or turned into a burrito, if you saw that. Apparently somebody got wrapped up in a carpet by the police, which is a very smart way to do it. Instead of tasing them, they just got out a wrapper and they knocked them down and they wrapped them up in the blanket. They put them in the police car. Do you guys see that one? Japan does things perhaps better. You don't need to zap them. you can just put them in a blanket. Use judo and then put them in a blanket. All right, guys, that's all the time I got for you. Thanks for the questions. The comments are going to be extraordinary, but let's keep it real here. And I think that this is going to be an extraordinary time for Japan to see how it actually reacts. Now consolidated behind a leader, we have a 2/3 a majority. It feels optimistic, like before the pandemic, before all that stuff happened, before Prime Minister Abe stepped down, things were unraveling at the end. This could be something of a golden era for a few years. This is something that could be really great for the country. So I'm kind of stoked about it. Whether or not you don't make the comparisons to the Iron Lady, to Margaret Thatcher, to President Trump, she is her own person. And I want you all to kind of see it like that and then judge her on how she leads, and take it piece by piece. And when things are critical, I'm going to be critical too, because by by God, if people aren't happy, I'm not happy either. So we want people to be happy here and be able to afford stuff, including me and my wife and Leo, who actually has 4,000 yen. He wants to buy a pair of shoes. Don't know why. Brandy, thanks again. I don't understand the duck. I think it's for Christmas, but thank you for the package. I'll see you all in another live stream real soon. Thanks for watching. Matane.